Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday the 17th of December. Some would say not only is it the 17th, but it's the last edition of GPTV. My name's Phillip Kingston.
Big opening. I'm Gary Peer.
All
You're
on one
right.
breath too.
That was pretty good, Phil. That is the last edition. This is the last edition. Phil, before we have a little break, we give our viewers a break. And some people, Phil, find it very difficult to go without GPTV for some 6 or 8 weeks.
I get that,
There's
Gary.
people that, that you see them sort of in the fetal position, in street, in shop doors, and
Or just
all
wandering
sorts of-
aimlessly.
wandering aimlessly
around tumbleweed blowing
right.
shopping
Melbourne.
centres.
Yeah, exactly right. I really feel sorry for those people, but the good news is you can go back and see our last 300 editions if you want to keep yourself busy through this very quiet time.
Speaking of that, I did stumble across the first edition the other day.
Oh, wasn't it? It was.
Oh, look! All
It
I
was
can
like
say
this. It was
is-
like this. We're going to bring you the news. Yeah.
But not only
very
that,
awkward.
but time has not been kind, Gary, on either of us.
Is that right? Well, we know that.
Hello and welcome to GPTV on Monday the 7th of November. Another big week in real estate in Melbourne. My name's Phillip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
And together we're going to take you through the last weekend's results and activities and talk about what's up in real estate in Melbourne for the coming week.
Well, when was that? It would have been like 20 years ago or something,
Well,
was it?
it was a long time ago.
It was a while ago.
If nothing else,
It's been a lot of editions, yeah.
If nothing else, GPTV will be this time lapse on our life. So if we keep this going into our, we'll be working till our mid-80s.
Yes.
But if we keep this going, you know how some people, they do a photograph every week of their pregnancy. I don't know whether you've seen this, but
I've seen that,
week
evolution,
1,
Phillip.
week 2, week 3, all the way through the pregnancy, and you see this lovely
evolution,
lovely belly grow.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be this is going to be the rise
But
and fall.
The pregnancy is something beautiful coming. It's just about our demise now, isn't it?
Well,
really,
we
old
let's
and
face
crusty.
it, we did peak some years ago.
Imagine what my eyebrows will be looking like when I'm in my 80s, 70s, and 80s. My God, I won't be able to see out of my face.
As a historical document, if you think about it, we've now taken a photo or video of us each week for a number of years.
For a long time.
When we get to the end of this, the highlights reel is just going to be these two young bucks.
Yeah, exactly right.
Just becoming these two
slowly decaying
wheelchair-bound
into nothing.
morons.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, hopefully we've got plenty of years before that happens, Phil, because we're still very, I think, relevant and vibrant, but we're certainly excited, if nothing else. And nothing gets more exciting than real estate, Philip. And the last week's been one of the most exciting weeks ever, hasn't it? Who would have thought it?
It was massive.
It was massive. We've had great sales. Philip, let's put the towers up for the last time this year.
Yes.
A 93% clearance rate against an industry average.
Out of 14, Gary, against an industry average of 75%.
Well done to the industry. Real tale of two markets, isn't it, Philip, this year? You talk about the start of the year at sort of 45,
We've gone from
50%
high
to
40s.
75%. Of course, we've always been
Into
ahead.
the
but
mid-70s.
How about 93%? Shame about that one.
Do you know what, Gary?
We'll sell it.
Shout out to the entire sales team and also the wonderful admin people that are behind the sales team in our sales breakfast, our last sales breakfast for the year. We had a sing out and a shout out to all of our admin people that are the quiet force behind our sales team, and they are the reason that we deliver these impressive results week after week. Because it's not just because the sales people did a great job; it's because of all of those people that are behind the scenes making sure that everything does. Breakfast's my favourite meal of the day.
I don't eat breakfast, but I had a little bit of. I haven't got any here. I hope. I had a bit of bacon today, a bit of egg and bit of egg, I should say, Phil. A bit of egg today and some toast. So it's a very, very nice option to go out and take the whole team out at the end of the year.
Breakfast, Gary, is the most important meal of the day, and it horrifies me that you do not eat breakfast. Never?
No, never eat breakfast. I just have a coffee, and that gets me going. That's all I need, Philip.
No wonder you're so
we're
pasty
bookends.
and repulsive.
You know we're bookends. You're morning and I'm night. We're like, people say we're like day and night, and I say, well, that's how we operate.
We can tag team. We can kind of, if we lived in houses next to each other, I could high five you as I'm going to bed and you're going out.
Like you could, it works. Somehow it works. Don't ask me how, but somehow it works. Phil, hey, let's talk about some of our results on the weekend, but I've got a bit of a theme for this week's show.
What is the theme, Gary?
The theme and
Hit
the
us with
concept
your
is
theme.
Cooling off sucks. That's my theme, Phil. Cooling off sucks. And I just want to talk a bit about that because, of course, those buyers that don't buy under auction conditions, Philip, they have a 3-day cooling off period.
Business day.
After the date of sale.
That's
or
more
something.
critical than just three days.
After they purchase. So we've had 2 properties this week where buyers have cooled off. previously. And of course, that's always disappointing for the vendor because you think you've sold your property and then you sort of go through that
emotional roller coaster.
And then you found out you didn't sell. So there's been
That's
two
always
homes.
a horrible call that you've got to make.
Exactly
Hello,
right.
Mr. and Mrs. Vendor. Look, I've got some. Are you sitting down? Are you sitting
hello.
down?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there someone? Is there someone that's close with you?
It usually starts. Gary and Phillip have run out of the office and asked me to make this call. That's how it usually starts.
That's right.
But
it's a call about, look, you did sell on Monday night, but it's Thursday morning and your buyer has decided not to complete the contract.
There was a time, Phillip, when there was very much a lot of conditions around avoiding the cooling off period, but today it's unavoidable, Phillip.
Yes.
Except for with an auction. Anyway, 2 properties have cooled off. One of those properties was in Butte Street, Murrumbeen, a Butte property, Phillip.
Wasn't so Butte when it cooled off,
It wasn't so cute when it cooled off. Cute and Butte, when it cooled off at $260,000. But lo and behold, Phillip, and the vendor does the fist pump here because it sold for $285,000, $250,000, $25,000 more than the cooling off period. So the person that cooled off, I'm sure you had legitimate reasons to do so.
Only that person that cooled off
is watching.
Well, I think we should ring that person and say, look,
by the way,
just watch this week's GPTV.
Yeah, that $25,000, you probably didn't really need that in your life after tax or whatever it might have been. The other property, Phillip, that we sold was also in Denver Crescent in Elsternwick, sold for $1,900,000. The vendor was happy with that. Not so happy when it cooled off, Phillip, but now thrilled because we've just sold it for $1,930,000. Interesting sales, interesting stats.
So cooling off doesn't suck, Gary. In fact, if you were listening to this as a viewer, you might say, well, I hope my property cools off because we've got a 100% success rate from those two sales at getting more.
But if you're the buyer, well, a bit of bad luck because you actually lost money if you look at the ultimate selling price. Phillip, one of the other great sales and interesting stories of the week was the auction before the auction. You often say at the auctions, one of Philip's lines for those that come often is Phillip will say as the auctioneer, there's not going to be an auction after the auction. I think when Daniel was about 6, he said, Dad, it's not going to be an auction after the auction. Everyone's saying there's not going to be an auction after the auction. It's one of those rules that you've laid down in the world of real estate. You should patent it and own it. Yes. There's no auction after the auction.
I'm going to release some new material next year,
I hope so.
Yeah,
you've got them busy. Over there
I've got 300 script writers in Asia, a small town in China.
Exactly right.
That are working on material exclusively.
Guangzhou, I think there was a team of 50 people there in a 1-bedroom apartment, getting ready to produce the material for it. But as you say, there's not an auction after the auction, but there was an auction before the auction because it was very interesting what happened in Leamington Crescent, Phillip, when a buyer. Was it Leamington Crescent? Yes, it was, I think.
Yes, it was.
When a buyer stepped up to the plate and said, look, I'm going to offer on this property, and I'm just going to go out of camera a bit, that was a bit weird.
That was terrible.
That was weird.
Because you cut your arm off.
Yeah, I did. No, it wasn't Leamington, Phillip, it was Edgewood Street. Thank you. Thanks for confusing me. I thought I was wrong. I thought I was right, but wrong. Phillip, somebody stepped forward and said, look, I want to make a big pre-auction offer. They forced it to the vendors at around 1.6. Of course, it just changed everything because the vendor was thrilled at that sort of price. So there was a number of buyers. We brought them into the home.
Well, what we did, Gary, you're not actually explaining the whole situation. We documented documented that offer.
Yes, we
did. The
did.
buyer signed a contract of sale together with a deposit.
Yep.
And we explained to them there are a number of other parties that we've got to get back to before selling this property to you. We then called it into an auction, which we held at the house.
Yes,
and it was by invitation only. We had 5 people that expressed interest in this property. We took the auction into the house. We actually auctioned it in the back room. Leo did the auction and a fantastic job he did, but he went through the process by saying, I'm holding an offer at $1,600,000 and whatever it was. If there is no higher offer than this offer, then I am going to sell in accordance with this contract of sale. So effectively declared the property on the market with that statement.
He's brought some wonderful transparency to the process, given everyone an opportunity, gone back into the house, and lo and behold, Phillip, it sold for $1,790,000.
I think Gary will be doing a bit more of that this year, or in 2020, because one of the things that was good about it is that it brought some transparency in front of the buyers, so the buyers felt very comfortable in increasing their offers.
Indeed, they did, and actually, ultimately, the buyer was the person who did put the offer forward of just over 1.6, which was way ahead of what we'd expected. Correct. Anyway, sometimes we just don't know.
Vendors. I would say also under those circumstances, Gary, the buyer's actually quite happy because whilst they didn't get it at the price they offered, they were able to see that it was a well-contested house. And sometimes when you're selling prior to auction, where there is no transparency,
behind the scenes,
the buyer, the eventual buyer goes, well, was there, how many parties were there?
And they don't believe us, Phillip.
Well, that's
they
the
often
trouble,
don't
Gary.
believe us.
That's the trouble,
Why
Gary.
is there such a lack of trust?
I'll tell
Why
you,
are people so cruel to real estate agents?
I'll tell you why, Gary, because I think the industry has improved professionally dramatically over the last 10 years, but there are still some dirty, rotten scoundrel agents out there that give us all a bad
Them
name.
are fighting words, Phil, but that's true. We've always tried to, and every time we've sold for auction, we've always put it right out there in terms of what the facts are, but then some people don't believe there's cynicism.
I've always said, Gary, love us or hate us. I would like to
hate
think
us,
that 99% of buyers
hate us.
and sellers that transact with us would say, like them or hate them, they are very professional.
I'd like to think the same thing, Philip. We'll go on believing that, notwithstanding what anybody else says. Anyway, that was a great result.
By the way, we're not looking for feedback on that comment, viewers. Just keep your feedback to yourself.
Unless it's very positive.
There's no prize for sending in ideas.
We'll take compliments this time of year, Phil.
There's no juicer, there's nothing.
We'll take compliments. What do you mean a juicer?
We gave away a juicer, a Breville juicer.
Yeah, we'll get steak knives. We're going to have a whole new year with lots of different gifts. Anyway, Philip, 16 Edgewood.
Speaking of juicers, Gary, and this is a bit of trivia, but I believe in bringing lots of different things to the GPTV table.
You do.
But I've gone through all of 2019 without a cold or the flu. And I normally get a bad cold or two during the year.
I mean, right now I'm breathing all over you, and I've actually got some issues with my chest. I've got a bit of a chest infection at the moment. So let's hope the year finishes with you still being able to make that statement.
I was looking, Gary, looking at what's different in my life this year, and I came to the conclusion it's my Breville juicer.
Is that right?
Because I now have, all this year, I've had 3 freshly squeezed oranges every morning. And I've got to tell you, I have not been sick, so the only thing I can say that is different about my life is my Breville juicer.
What about your weight?
And
what about your weight?
I'll say thank you, Dad, for giving me that Breville
What about
juicer.
your weight? Because a little while ago you said that you've got that little bit of extra loving around you that you just can't get off.
So the good news, Gary, on that is I've actually dropped a kilo over the last 2 weeks. And do you know the only difference to my life?
What's that?
Is I go to the Common Room a lot, which is a cafe in Alma Road.
It is.
And
It's a good one.
And they have these very delicious escargot
And you keep ordering them.
custard and sultanas, and they are delicious. And I was having one a day just by cutting that out. Bang, the weight's come off.
Is that right? Good. Well, I'm glad to hear you've achieved that outcome, Philip, because life is about achieving your goals, Philip.
It is, Gary. Set yourself a goal, a realistic target, and go for it.
I don't think I'm going to go through any more auctions, Phil, but Elliott Avenue, I mean, that was fantastic, and Leo sold 2 out of 3. There's one left. The only one we didn't sell was one of the ones there, which we're going to sell, I think, today or tomorrow anyway, which will give us a clean sweep going back to the weekend, Phil, and that was in conjunction. So can we blame our conjunctional agent for that?
May as well.
Yeah, why not?
May as well.
Let's be
the
really selfless.
Having a conjunctional agent, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it all goes wrong. Oh, I thought the conjunctional agent was doing
They're
that.
actually good conjunctional agents. We'll take that. Hopefully they're watching. They won't get offended and cancel our authority to keep selling with them. Hey, Phil, we've got a few auctions coming up this weekend. Before we say a goodbye,
before we wave adieu, we wish
you bid you adieu.
Bid you adieu.
Adieu to you and you, as they say in the Sound of Music film. No, the Sound of Music. You know, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, good night, adieu, adieu, adieu. Phil, let's go into Kelvin Grove because that is going to be due on the 17th.
Viewers, as you're watching this episode of GPTV, assuming that you raced home in order to get it fresh in your inbox.
You're probably watching at 5 o'clock Tuesday.
If you've finished, whip on down to number
22
Kelvin, Gary.
Yeah, we're just about to go there now.
Yeah. We're leaving right from here. You'll see us race into the car now.
Phil's got his chauffeur started the engine.
We're going to go to Kelvin Grove.
Yeah, to this fantastic,
North,
remarkable retro.
A wonderful solid brick. It's a kind of a 1980s style. Wonderful floor plan.
Oh, we're in it.
Up on the screen.
Oh, we're in it. It feels good, doesn't it? Feels good there, Phil.
All this technology, we spend all of these millions of dollars on technology, and you're still looking at bits of paper.
Yeah, it's good, Phil. Anyway, that one's coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. We look forward to seeing you there. And I think that's your last auction for the year, Phil. You can just relax after that.
I've got to tell
till
you,
the middle of
as much
February.
as I might be having fresh orange juice, I'm feeling the pain.
Are you? You know what?
I
actually, I waver a bit between feeling the pain, but last week we had our best listing week of the year, and there's a big part of me that says I don't want it to end yet, because finally it's just
some would say,
bang,
Gary,
exploded.
And the statistician being statistician being Darren Krongold.
That David, me collecting him. Your father seeing this, me correcting you.
Our statistician, Darren Krongold, I think is in agreement that last week was the biggest listing week, and listings are new properties coming into the company, our biggest listing week in the history of the the company.
And to use the esteemed words of Borat, Phillip, high five. So very good. Let's keep going, Phil, because it doesn't stop there. Wednesday, 7 p.m. We're going to be.
I haven't watched Borat in recent times.
I watched it on the weekend.
I've got to tell you. It is an all-time classic.
I was actually sore laughing so much.
That I think will stand the test of time.
Yeah, it will. It was very, very funny. Funny watching it with my son, who's just been to the Ukraine recently.
Your son's been to the Ukraine?
Yes, he has. Yeah, my son has been to Ukraine. Wake up. He's been to Ukraine, to Kiev, the Ukraine, and he was saying.
When did he go to Kiev?
Oh, I think a couple of weeks ago. I just went for a weekend. No, he actually went to the Ukraine. Yeah.
When?
He went mid-year or last year or mid-year. Yeah, he went to the Ukraine, and he said to me, "Dad, it's very much like that." And of course, Kazakhstan got very. Don't worry yourself.
Are you making that up, or is that
true?
No,
I'm fair income. He went. Well, his partner is, from background of the Ukraine background and has family there.
Right.
Wow. Of course,
I must ask him about it.
Anyway, the Kazakhstan people got very upset with Borat because it actually wasn't as bad as he portrayed it, or maybe it was. Let's move on, Phillip, to Wednesday. We're in Cockerib Road on Wednesday night. Check out this great property behind us, 7 p.m.
Thank you for throwing it at me. Hey. 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and 2 car parks. That's not an apartment, Gary. That's a penthouse.
How much do we love twilight auctions?
I love them.
I love
them.
Bring them on.
Do more and more next year.
We had some beauties, haven't we? This year?
If you think about it, last weekend in Melbourne there were about 1,100 auctions.
Yep.
So if you're a seller on the weekend, you are going to be part and parcel of the cut and thrust of busy weekends.
You are.
But if you have a twilight auction across Melbourne, there might be a dozen. Maybe.
If that.
And the auction that we had at number 16 Hawthorne Road, which we did talk about in last week's GPTV, had lots of people, lots of bidders, and it had a kind of feeling of merriment, Gary.
I like that festive feeling, Phil. I like it.
Anyway, the merriment time of year.
The merriment vibe comes to twilight auctions.
Scrabble word, merriment?
It's a good one. Get a full score for that, Phil. We finish off with Graham Callan, an institution of real estate, an icon, I should say, a legend. He's going to be auctioning.
He's doing so well.
He's going to be auctioning.
Operates out of our Carnegie office.
He's going to be auctioning in Murrabina.
Gary, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 car space, which is a basement car space and secure. A wonderful building, and I am just loving all of these new buildings in the Carnegie area.
You and me both. 440 to 480 price range, Phillip, I think, and that's a really big wrap right through on sold, selling, happening. So much going on, Phillip. We are going to the new year, and of course we have our startup day for all of our team. And Jenny Coy, our head of Department Property Management, cleverly said, I think the name should be 2020 Vision.
Oh,
and I thought that was very captivating.
Jenny, good job
I mean, people will be taking that from the show and using it across their businesses, their
lives,
lives,
let's quickly
their families.
Whip out and trademark that, Gary.
I think we should
be used by any other agents.
I think we should, Phil. 2020 Vision. So as we sail off into the sunset, we're not really going very far. Are you going away at all?
No, I'm not. I'm going up to Sydney for 3 days, and I'm doing that across the Christmas period.
Okay.
But
see your sisters?
No, well, I am going to see my sisters. I'm going up to have lunch.
They know
with
you're
my
coming,
sisters.
because usually when they know you're coming, they leave.
No, but I'm kind of, will Sydney still be in the fog of smoke?
Right. Well, you might be up there to see your sisters, but unless you're sitting this far away, you won't be seeing them because of the smog and smoke. Exactly right. Exactly. Reminds me of the old.
Sounds revolting.
Reminds me of the old days in the nightclub, Phil. I think I'd feel quite at home there.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on in Sydney. Who wants to be anywhere but Melbourne? You're going to be mostly in Melbourne. I'm going also a little bit of Sydney, Gold Coast as well. Phillip, just local. Support Australia. This is the greatest country in the world.
This country.
Keep it here.
Keep the money moving around in a circle.
Best of everything's here, Phillip. Better than the UK, even with Boris Johnson, who just got into Parliament. Better than Donald Trump's America. This is the best place to be in the world. A message to our viewers, Phillip, and our supporters and our clients and friends.
Well, I'd just like to thank you all for obviously watching this show, but thank you for your support, whether you're a property management client, whether you're a seller, whether you were a buyer, anybody that transacted with us in any way, or even if you just came through one of our properties that's been open for inspection. Without you, the viewers, the consumer, the people that we transact with, we would have nothing, and we thank you for all your incredible support.
Thank you for your support. Have a wonderful break, an excellent end of year, and may 2020 give you all that you wish for: health, happiness, love, and laughter. And that's a big wrap on this GPTV edition, Phillip. We will be back late Jan, maybe early Feb, coming at you. In the meantime, if you need anything, we're all still working. There's a team around.
Wishing you all a healthy, happy, peaceful and prosperous 2020. Thanks for watching. I'm Phillip Kingston. Have a brilliant summer holiday.
Gary Peer. See you next year.